Don't let me forget those letters.
Okay.
No, let me take them back. Okay. Open the public portion meeting, pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first order of business is to accept the CSD and CPSC reports, which we'll chat with you about afterwards. But we're just accepting them. We don't really approve them anyway, as we've established historically. So is there a motion to accept those? Thanks, Ray. Thanks, Josh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Some minutes, lots of minutes. First, the regular meeting on April 21st. Any questions, edits, etc.? I didn't find it.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Nate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The budget hearing minutes, which emailed to us, I'm guessing there's a copy.
There's a hard copy there for you.
With all those bullet points that the admin team worked so hard to develop. So thank you for recording those. You guys did a nice job with those
Really did.
presentations.
I think that was excellent because I was only, it's hard that more people didn't come and take a look because you really explained what goes into the budget. That was excellent. And I understand that it's on video so people can go back and look.
It was the first really beautiful spring night that we had had in a long time.
I'm sure it's why.
I'm sure that's why. Otherwise, it would have been a packed house. Yeah.
That's all.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Budget hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Nate.
I'll second.
Take your pick. Hey, Josh.
We'll take Kate.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the budget vote a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Is there a motion to approve those? The budget's open, so
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the absence.
I'll make a motion to accept them. as
Second.
presented.
thanks, Mike and Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We don't have to talk amongst ourselves anymore. Treasurer's report. Sydney.
Just gonna pass this out, so take one and then pass it. I sent out the treasurer's reports that I had, I think I sent them out on Tuesday, but just in case you weren't able to print them, or you still want them in front of you, here you go. Okay, so, you guys got budget transfers, you have, the treasurer's reports, and you have the expenditures. So if there are any questions on April's reports, please let me know. I feel like the last month, all I have done is budget and RFPs and RFQs. So that's really just most of my report. So before I just kind of touch on those, really briefly, the process for sending these out, we usually reach out directly to companies to send them the information just because we're trying to get in quotes or responses, whether it's proposals or qualifications. But Really, the official process is that we issue the RFP or the RFQ, advertise it in the paper, and then it's available, should a company call and request to see the proposal. They can get those details, and we also have them posted on our website for firms to be able to refer to. So, that information is out there and available. But again, we have directly reached out to just say, like, we're inviting you to submit a response. So I've done an RFP, and very much thank you to Brent for his help in putting all of this together, because it's been a lot. So thank you. It's been a lot. So we've got an insurance RFP out for the district's liability insurance. Proposals are due May 30th. We've got an RFP out for our independent audit services. Those proposals are due this Friday. So those ones are coming in. We've also got a request for qualifications on construction management firms and our architect and engineering firms. All of those are considered professional services. So, I have a little asterisk at the bottom to just kind of define that. So professional services require special skill, training, and expertise, use of professional judgment or discretion. And that's like things like legal services, architectural services, property appraisals, insurance, audit services. So with the proposals coming in and the request for qualifications, these are things that we can use our discretion in how we award the responses. There's not a requirement to take the lowest response bidder. We can use our discretion and select the person or the firm that is the best fit. So that's just what I wanted to touch on there. Right now in the district office, this is a very busy time as we head into the year-end close and prepping for the independent audit, which happens over the summer. So, thank you in advance to everybody in that office, because we're heading in for a lot of work. We had our first facilities planning committee, and again, thank you so much, Brent, for your help in putting that together. It's my first committee that I've headed up, and it was great to kind of go through that process and like how to put all of that together, and I just really appreciate your expertise on that. So we had our first facilities planning committee meeting on May 5th. I think it went really well, and I'm so grateful. I know we're both very grateful for everybody who was able to be there and who volunteered for this. It's so nice to have this skill set that is going to be in this committee. It's going to be huge as we head into planning for our 5-year capital project plan and our upcoming large capital project, and right now for the 22-23 year, that 100K capital outlay project. So nice to have this committee put together. And thank you to everybody who's volunteering here. So that's all I've got for you. Let me know if you've got any questions.
Excuse me, those thanks. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's reports?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll second.
Thanks, Ray. All those in favor? I'll get you next time, Nate. And then we have appropriation transfers, so. So then separately, the appropriation transfers. Is there a motion? See, now he's silent. Thanks, Josh.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nate. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now on to the warrants. Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, I can't.
What is CarStar or WeGo? It's
It's a body shop. That was repair of minivan, I believe.
Oh.
Okay.
This year.
Couple years.
Well, I hope not, but I can't promise.
Do we pay the extra psychologist once a month, every week? How does that work?
Generally, she bills once a month.
Okay. I was just
There was,
curious.
she typically submits a monthly invoice, however, I think there might have been like 1.5 months
Okay.
submitted at one point because she was out. So she worked for like a week, then she was out a couple of weeks that month, and then the next month, and then she billed. But it's not a set monthly like
Okay,
fee.
yeah,
It's
for
just
hours
based on
worked.
her hours and the week.
Everybody, any other questions on the main warrant? Move on to the guys. Federal funds 28. All 3 transactions.
Let's see what this is.
Yeah. And then the cafeteria, yeah. C29. Short and sweet. Yep. All right. Is there a motion to accept all 3 of the warrants? Thanks, Josh. There's a second? Take your pick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. We have no visitors. Hi to everybody, anybody, I guess, out in YouTube land. Thank you for watching. 7 people. Excellent. No considerations. So on to the consent agenda, let's have a couple walk-ins. Is there anything in the consent agenda that needs to be brought up for separate consideration? Any questions on anything in there?
On the appointments, the middle school guidance counselor position, is that total replacement for Beth?
Yes.
I kind of thought so.
Yeah, one full one. I don't know if I'd say total replacement, yeah.
Well, that's kind of what
Yeah,
Beth was doing anyway.
Yeah.
And experienced or education?
You know, so I don't have the resume in front of me, but experience, we have Elise Stoller from Ithaca, who lives here in Candor, family here in Candor, just a great candidate. Yeah, that was a very successful search. We had other good candidates too, but she's,
If you look at the last name, you'll see who she's related to.
married into a guy.
Married, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Yes,
She's
can confirm. Who knows who that
No,
is?
it's- I knew that before, I checked it off, I remember that, yeah. It's a little shaken. No, just the grandfather. It's wonderful. Forgot. It's not just us.
Right,
Just kidding.
all right.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Nate.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say
Is there a second to approve the consent agenda?
Oh,
Thanks, Ray. All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, excellent. Mr. Raymond, You're up.
My first item is the progress we've made on the academic intervention plan. The academic intervention team that's been meeting monthly, and we've made a lot of progress. What we are going to use is a multi-tier system of support model where we take the students who are in need of the additional support, tier 2, tier 3, and really get them more intentional intervention during the learning labs. We're going to take learning labs. Learning labs were these known as study halls. We call them learning labs because we tried to make them more focused on academics, although I don't know how much more focused they are other than the name learning lab. But next year they will be learning labs. Students who are identified as tier 3 needing a lot of support will be pulled out and working with a small group, will be working with an interventionist that will be working specifically with them on and where their needs are. And then the tier 2 kids are ones that don't need quite as much support, but they certainly need some. Maybe as a bigger group, they'll be meeting with a teacher as well. So what we're trying to do, and then the tier 1 kids, the ones that are maintaining their work, they go on about their business as they have, because they've shown that they're able to be successful without any type of oversight or supervision. So it's been a lot of work. The teams put a lot of effort into it, but we're really hoping that this will be an effective model. We've had the time after school in the past, but the trouble is once 2:20 comes, the kids go out the door. You can set it up, but when they go home, they go home. We can't make them stay. When we have them in the building, we can make sure that they go where we need them to go to get that additional support. So we're going to come up with grade level team, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those grade level teachers are going to meet. Right now, I was going to say once a month, but it looks like after today's meeting, we're going to try to do it every 5 weeks after each progress report and report card. And we're going to get together. We're going to tier the students, make adjustments as we need every 5 weeks. And that way we make sure if there's a new kid in need that pops onto the radar, we can give them the support they need. And if a student's doing what they need to do and they get themselves off tier 3 or tier 2 up to tier 1, now they've earned that right to be more independent and not have that additional support. So we're going to have to do some summer work with the grade level teams. Brent's graciously offered that to our teachers, so I'm going to try to have a day's meeting with each grade level team, and hopefully we'll have this up and going at the start of the school year. So I'm excited about that opportunity. Hopefully, I'm very optimistic it's going to be a very successful intervention plan. As far as the Intro to Agriculture program update, and I'm saying Intro to Agriculture because we've changed the name from Animal Science. We thought that was maybe too specific, and most ag programs have an Intro to Agriculture to kick off before kids branch off in more specialized agricultural areas. And if you're going to have an FFA, what I'm hearing is you need to have an Intro to Agriculture in your agriculture program. So we're going to start with that. Right now, we have 18 students signed up for it, which is great. It's a good number to start with. Went up last week and met with one of the Cornell Cooperative Extension associates, as well as the teacher of the construction trades program at Owego. They have offered to come in and do the construction for us as a project for their students. So they're going to go up there over the summer, work on getting the classroom space ready, and Cornell Cooperative Extension is going to take care of the cost of the materials for getting the space ready. Once that's done, we are going to have to invest in some things on our end, tables, equipment, any types of supplies that we need to get the program started. But it's been very nice of Owego to offer that, and it's good. Well, they said it's not a problem because we want to give our kids the experience of doing that. So it's a win-win for everyone. So I'm excited that we're making progress on that, and we should have that program up and running in September. I don't know if you saw my last board report, but Regis exams are back. Kids are going to have to sit for them. There's no exemptions this year. There's been a lot of concern just because COVID didn't disappear this last year. A lot of kids lost some time, and teachers lost some time, and there's been disruptions. The state ed just put out the last couple days that they used to have appeals. You could appeal if the student got 65 is the passing for the Regis exam. It used to be 60 for an appeal. You could appeal to the superintendent for local approval. They dropped it to 50. So a student could get between a 50 and 65, they can appeal for the Regents exam for credit approval. And really the only criteria for that is that they have to pass the course and they can get the 15 or above. And that goes through August of 2023. So for the next year plus August, that option is going to be available for the student, kind of as a bridge through COVID into hopefully normalcy. So I didn't have that on the report, but I wanted to add that. And if you look down here, we're getting close to the end of the year, so a lot of important dates there. Probably the most important is the one on June 24th, the commencement ceremony. So hopefully we'll see you all there. That's all I have.
Is there going to be an FFA? Do you hope to?
We're hoping to, yeah, I actually talked to a gentleman. I don't know if he's the director of the state level or the national level, but he lives here in Candor. So he just moved here, so Mr. Hill. And so I'm going to meet with him here in the near future to talk about getting an FFA started as well.
That's great.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank
I
you.
know South Seneca has it, and some of the other
A lot of schools do around here, and we really should.
Yeah.
So we're going to have.
Excellent. I had written down what's the difference between tier 2 and tier 3, and you answered all my questions
Okay.
in the course of it. Thank you very much.
All right.
What's that? Yes, he is the best. You're right.
Yeah. Mrs. Volpicelli, be more formal than that.
All right, so just highlighted a few things we have going on. May, 12th and 13th, we had Sue Heavenrich come in and do activities with pre-K up to second grade. So she was in 2 consecutive days. One day she had 2 grade levels, the next day she had the other 2 grade levels. She actually had the opportunity, Wendy set her up with an outside classroom, an outdoor classroom, so she took the kids outside. She was, of course, highlighting her book, 13 Ways to Eat a Fly. I meant to bring a copy of it sitting in my office. I apologize, but you can Google it. It's available everywhere. And so she presented her book, and then she did some activities, some STEM-based activities with the kids. They enjoyed it. And again, these author visits, Wendy's been organizing for a few years now. Unfortunately, our 3/6 office visit or authors visit fell through this year. So this is the only one we'll have, but the kids loved it. Pre-K registration we have coming up. We've got 3 days set up. We'll have 1 day for kindergarten registration and then 2 days for pre-K. Of course, kindergarten registration, those kids coming in will be joining our current kids in pre-K, so it's not as big of a group of kids, but they come in, they meet with teams of teachers and specialists. The kids do their screening. We use the Dial 4 for that. Helps us gather some information about the kids we have coming in. And then in the meantime, the adults, the families are meeting with us, Pete and I, to learn about the logistics of the school day and kind of welcome them to Candor Elementary, answer any questions they have at this point. It's still early, we're just approaching summer, but it's a good time to meet families and get our eyes on the kids. We definitely have some needs coming up, some of the kids that are coming to us, and I know Kim will probably talk about that in the future months. We have some kids that are going to be in Wendy Watkins' program, and we have some kids that will be mainstreamed into the classrooms but need some support because of their disabilities. So it's good to get our eyes on these kids and to allow them the opportunity to meet us as well and see the building. We do a meet and greet prior to the start of school with these families as well and the children, but it's coming up. And then we have field trips this year, full boat of field trips. So every grade level is going on a field trip or has already gone on a field trip. So we've listed those for you there. I believe tomorrow, first grade's going to the Discovery Center. So we have a few yet, but a lot of them have happened. And then I highlighted an event that's been going on for a few years. Meredith Rosner started this maybe 5 years ago, but we weren't able to do it for at least 2 years. It's when the senior class comes over, they purchase books, and each one of them comes over to read to one of the kindergarten students. It's the most precious thing ever. And for me, it's super awesome because I've seen these kids. They were elementary students when, 5th and 6th graders, but for everybody, it's precious to see these older grown-up kids connecting with the little ones and the questions they ask, and just in that 20 minutes, the bonds they form, and just to watch the kids stare and just idolize these big kids, it's really great. So thank you, Meredith, for setting that up, and the kindergarten teachers, of course, are happy to allow it.
If I could, Kate, thank you very much. That was wonderful. But I want to thank Mrs. Rossner for senior seminar. It was marvelous. You know, a lot of the administrators were there as well. But she does an excellent job. And to share that with the kindergartners, to have the seniors do that, I think is a marvelous program. One thing, Sue Heavenrich's book is my grandson's favorite, 13 Ways to Eat a Fly. My question is, did she bring her own flies, or did the kids have to?
You know what, I don't know exactly what activities they did. I don't think there were any insects involved.
Okay.
I don't think.
You do know this.
Yes. Yes. I mean, like live insects. I don't believe so. There weren't any, she didn't bring any with her.
Or some
Unless they
chocolate
found them
covered
outside. I don't know. They were outside.
They were outside, Mike.
Yeah.
There
they
were
were outside.
So
There were insects.
there were
Harvest
insects.
their own
Yeah.
snack.
Thank you.
When I was a kid, the book was How to Eat Fried Worms. I don't know if that book is still
Yeah.
like circulating around. Really?
Never heard of
Yeah, your kids probably read it.
it. Well, we used to eat fried worms. Wow.
There you go. There's a whole book about, how to.
You read it, right? Good? Okay. Yeah, that's our time, yeah.
I have to ask them.
What?
Mr. Ahart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
So we started our sixth grade transition program early in May. We had 3 days where each of our third grade classes came over to visit and sort of run through from the beginning of the day. They got on the high school bus instead of the elementary run. They came in with the middle school kids, and then they were able to meet sort of their mentor in the cafeteria. There's seventh graders were assigned to a sixth grade student where they walked through their schedule of the day for the first 4 periods, sat in their classrooms, transitioned with them, went to their lockers with them, and we went through 3 days of that, and it was quite an eye-opening experience for the sixth graders. It was a great experience for them, but certainly they were overwhelmed, they were anxious, had a lot of positive comments, a lot of nervous comments from the kids. Afterwards, we were able to ask them questions, what they're nervous about, what they're excited about, and almost every student that I asked, what are you most excited about? They were more excited about the independence they get over here, not having to walk in line in the hallway, being able to transition on their own and with their friends and talk with their friends between class. The biggest anxious piece that the kids were having a concern with was the time to get to class. So some of them didn't think the time in between was enough to go to their locker, so they're already starting to think and plan for next year. But I thought it was interesting, some of the comments that I heard. The guidance department, transportation, everybody bent over backwards to make that day happen, so I appreciate it. The teachers especially having additional 8, 10, 12 kids in their class. That's quite an adjustment to the instructional day too, so I appreciate their flexibility in allowing that to happen. The next pieces that we have 2 more pieces. One's gonna happen in June where the kids are gonna come over and talk with Craig and Wayne on expectations, ask whatever questions that they wanna ask to Craig and Wayne. And then over the summer, they'll have an open house where they get their full schedule, they'll be able to go to their lockers, and just get to tour the building a little bit with their parents. So that's the next step in that program. Again, I have the thanks to the teachers and transportation and the guidance department for making that happen. The spring diagnostic, so that's coming up here at the end of May, beginning of June, and on the backside of this, we are starting to have those data chats that I've began talking about 2 months ago. So the teachers are, and for ELA and math, are going to have these conversations led by the questions that I've included in the description there, and I'm pretty excited about that to see how that impacts the students' ability to take the test, how that impacts their achievement levels, and just to see what the general overall conversations with the students are. So both in ELA and math that's happening, they're starting them in a couple of days, and we'll see what happens. We're really excited. It's a really foundational piece to the data chats with the kids next year. We're hoping to up the ante a little bit with a different form and more in-depth conversations that are happening where students delve into their data a little bit more closely. And then during finals week or in the summer, the core teachers are going to be able to look at the data from the last diagnostic, be able to get the tiers 1, 2, and 3 ready for the following year, so we can hit the ground running with that piece, so we can get going rather quickly. So, and that is all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Nick.
So let's see. Special education, I just gave you guys what I believe is the most current numbers out of the system. So we currently have 20 CPSE or preschool students requiring special education support. Katie referenced just looking ahead to this upcoming year, and the students, some might be going into Mrs. Watkins' 612 class, but we may have some kids in kindergarten, typical kindergarten classrooms that need support. Right now, the preschool meetings that we're holding, many of them are transition meetings from CPSE to CSE. As far as school age, and I put a note in there, the 128, that's including 12 of our students that attend programs out of the district. And then, of course, we have 504 students that have accommodation plans through 504. We currently have, which is not on this report, we have 13 new referrals that are in progress. So that started, I mean, it's not like they just happened in the last couple of weeks, but some of these referrals were originally submitted a month ago or more, and it's just getting that consent back from families so that we can start the testing. But as of right now, I think we've received all the consents that we needed, and there are 13, and there might be 1 or 2 more. So it's going to be a busy end of the year. Allie Wright, who had been helping chair some of the meetings, one of our school psychologists, or our full-time school psychologist, she's back doing testing. I'm chairing all the meetings, so that I told her, I'm like, I can't do the cognitive testing, you can. So you go do that, because the question was, do we want to try and get if we can finalize things before the end of the school year, that's my goal. I prefer to not keep feeling like we're behind. If we can get back up to speed by July 1, that would be fabulous. But just some current numbers. Let's see. And then summer work. I just gave an idea of some of the topics that we need to talk about within the special ed department, and currently going through during department meetings, just tightening up the paperwork, making it more consistent across the grade levels. I always think about a family that might have a child in multiple grades, and then they're getting ready for a CSE meeting, but the form looks a little different for every grade. So if we can make it a little more consistent, I think that would help families. And then speaking of families, I just have to thank all of our families since January, middle of January, whenever I stepped in, and then they've just been understanding, they've been patient, they've been flexible, just knowing that, you know, if we have to call and say, sorry, we forgot to send that one document with the invitation, and they're just like, we get it, we understand. The families have been great, and thanking the department. They've also been really understanding as Amanda and I are navigating the schedules and the requirements. So I think that's all I had for special ed. Oh, no, one other thing I do want to add. It wasn't on my report, but when Pete talking about that transition program, something that Sarah Loomis and I have talked about, because we've been doing so many preschool meetings, next year, especially, so for our 4-year-olds that will transition from CPSE to CSE, we're going to work on a transition plan or program for those families so that we're starting to talk with them. Not that we don't have the meeting already, but we want to have them in. We want them to see the building. We want to be talking with them more often, because especially for some of our children and families that in some are really involved needs, that's a big step. You know, preschool services was big enough, but then school age coming into kindergarten and not really knowing, you know, what can we accommodate. So we'd like to start that process, at least the conversation, start the conversations. So that's it. Special ed. And then moving right along, or were there any questions?
Just, it could be a great asset for them to know that we have the 612 in-house, like that's not all that common, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, Wendy's class is going to grow a little bit next year, and it's exciting. It really is. And thank you for the support of that program. And Wendy I had a conversation with her. We're so fortunate to have her. She could do anything. She could run the department. But she has a real gift when it comes to working with certain populations and their families. So that's good. All right, ready?
Yeah, change.
Shift, okay. So I have to thank Brent. I think this was his idea to have a representative on the Chamber of Commerce for the town, right? It's actually the village. So I have been selected to be the representative, but it really was. I do appreciate it. I wasn't able to attend May's meeting. I was at April's meeting. It's just having that connection. I'm excited to see how we can help them, but also, you know, if they have questions or if there's something going on that maybe if we know about a little sooner and how we can participate as a school. But Rita Kellogg, she's been great. The primary question she had for the April meeting, they wanted just more information about scholarships. If they were to think about offering one, you know, what's it entail? So just wanted to let you guys know that if anybody says, oh, we saw Kim online at this meeting, and you're like, what's she doing there? That's what I'm doing there. So the second item is just an update on, you've heard me talk about Better Lessons over the last year and even last year. We have 3 teachers that are participating in coaching, instructional coaching through Better Lessons. Wayne is as well, and I am. And this has been part of the project through TST BOCES. But I do have to give a shout out to Meredith Ressner, Carly Both, Sarah Loomis. Their coaching sessions were highlighted at my regional meeting at TST, and they're bringing whatever they talk about in their sessions, they are forwarding the work out to the other teachers at both buildings. And again, we'll see where that work takes us next year. And as of 10 minutes before 7, there were 38 responses to summer school, official registration spanning grades K to 10. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Gelder.
Hello. So start off with state testing. Math testing went really well. Ben did a great job, and you did have to kind of scramble at the last minute because I was out with COVID, very last minute, and he did great. Everything went very smoothly, and we, we did the makeups the next week, and we have that checked off. And the next one is field testing. So after this testing, the state asks school districts to do field test questions for next year's test. So we were selected to do that for ELA in 8th grade and 3rd grade. So they will spend, it's not as long a test, but it is, probably 45 minutes of more state test questions, so that they will get feedback or get the data on those questions, how the students do, and then assess those questions and whether they add them to the test or not. We don't know what they do with the data, but we are asked to get the students in front of the computers again. So they will be doing that in the coming weeks, along with the iReady diagnostics. So I appreciate the teachers giving up time to, to fill out that requirement. So Google domain audit is something that I've been wanting to do, and is something that many of the districts in the area have done in the last few years. But our Google domain, it covers everything from all of our accounts to Chromebooks and everything in between, all of our Google documents. And there are so many settings that I sort of live in fear that something is misconfigured, and it's hard to know where they all are unless I go through every single page. So this is a really great independent way to have a company, Amplified IT. They have access to our domain. They watch what's happening over 3 weeks to see how things are shared, how things are configured, and then they give us, an 80-page document that says, here are the, top 20 things that you should do to fix, to be in compliance with the way that educational organizations usually set up their domains. Here are some suggestions, and then, the other things that you could do depending on, how you want to set up your organization. So just a good practice in terms of setting up our domain, and great in case we are audited by the state. Just to make sure that that's just a side note, but really more just making sure that our data is safe. So they're working on that now, and I should get that report in a couple of weeks. We're done patching any holes that we might have. Software review every year this time of year. I look to what we're going to be purchasing next year. Everybody's wanting us to renew. Everybody wants us to buy new stuff. So we get a lot of those requests. And so I go through each of the programs that we have, look at how often they're used by both students and teachers, and then have discussions with administrators, whether, or the KIM curriculum people, to say, is this the best way to use this money? Are teachers really using it? Is there a different way to structure it? So constantly trying to do that every year. The top 4 here were things that teachers were using. Remind, you probably all have the Remind app and get messages. I was surprised at our monthly numbers, how many messages are going back and forth. So I think that's a really good use. Cami is our PDF editor. So teachers take a PDF, they can scan a document and push it out through Schoology or Google Classroom, and the students can answer right on that. So it's a really great resource. And then our 2 learning platforms, Schoology and Google Classroom, get a lot of activity. And then on the back are the website visits from students. So this is what students are accessing in the domain. And sometimes I wonder if there's going to be some game that's really popular that's going to end up on this list. And, a little worried about, the only one that was odd was Pinterest. I don't know what they were doing on Pinterest, but it's very popular. But all the other ones were ones that we're using in the classroom. So students are using their Chromebooks for what they're supposed to be using it for. So, and I can answer any questions about any of the software platforms or the websites that students are going to, if you have questions.
Half of them are the Google Suite.
Yes.
Not quite, but yeah.
Yep, a lot. Yep. And Senior Wooly, Spanish, is very popular in the middle school, middle school. Yep. Senior Wooly.
Little character, but the kids love it.
Kids love them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got three reports to just flip through: athletics, transportation, and Mike's. The unit bed log, Mr. Sutton.
So, and, athletic director is at sporting events, so that's great, appropriate. So I just want to take a moment and thank everybody for all the work that we did on this budget, and thank the voters in the community for their support. It's absolutely wonderful. I also want to take a moment and first congratulate and thank Anna Murray and Hope and Skoy for running and joining our board or staying on our board. I also wanted to thank Becca Bush. I had a conversation with her just the other day. She was wonderful. She has a kindergartner. She's excited about joining our PSTA now that she'll have the time for doing that. And again, anytime someone steps up and throws their hat in the ring, that's commendable. I heard wonderful things about how she can help our district, and first through the PTSA, which I'll be back on in just a moment. As Mrs. Wade talked about, we spent a lot of time. So I had 4 older sisters. I've never had a younger sister, but we've worked together a lot over the past month, and I'm getting feeling what that's like. It's better in that younger sisters don't pick up a wiffle ball bat and whack you.
Yeah.
There's always the last day.
You see her walk in with one will know.
And then Mrs. Wade also talked about the facilities committee. I just want to say that we are so blessed to have the committee that we do. Making decisions that are really thoroughly thought out and well planned before you start any project is so important. It's important that it gets done right, one, to save money, but mostly so we can better serve our students. And we have a team together that can do it. I listed the people in my report. I asked them, but not everybody was able to make it, if we can put those names up on the website, one, to give them thanks, but also so people in the community know who in the community has a little firsthand information about what we're doing. But as we move forward, their support is just invaluable. I think, and then the last thing I want to talk about, we do have a Candor Parent Teacher Student Association. It's established. Happened at our last meeting on Tuesday. We had just a handful of people, but that's all it takes. There's a meeting coming up this Tuesday of just one of the subcommittees, and that's the bylaws committee. So the first thing we had to do is determine that, yes, we do have enough interest to start one. So from here, the national or state and national PTA will take over. They'll get us set up with insurance and with that's free for the first year. So we don't have to worry about raising money to pay for this year's insurance, and also getting it set up as a nonprofit organization. Once that happens and our bylaws are established, that will happen Tuesday, then we'll be able to elect officers. There's another committee that will set that up. And so not everybody on the PTA, because I think everybody's going to want to join, has to be at those meetings. It would be about one meeting a month, and then we can start determining some great things we can do together with our PTA. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Board comments?
Thank everybody. Thank Mrs. Wellston for the seniors and the seniors. Thank you. Great job. I was very thrilled. And everybody's doing fantastic. Try to do good.
Looking forward to the Discovery Center tomorrow.
Are you going?
I am.
I didn't see Kira's, her staff wasn't in there, I didn't know Kira.
And then I just want to thank our long-suffering spouses for volunteering time on the capital projects committee. They do have some expertise there, so I'm glad they were both sports about that.
Did you have to force them? I gotta ask.
No, they.
No?
I don't think I knew until after he said he was doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Rob roped him into it.
Probably.
Well, that works.
And that's it. Thanks everybody for your continued work.
We should make a motion if we're going to go back into executive session for the.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Josh. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Get made on.
Nate or Ray, whoever's last represented.
You want to say what the motion was about?
Making a motion to go back into executive
Yeah.
session.
Just for-
Thank you all for watching.
Anybody?
No, that was wonderful. I really appreciate it.